So you can see that this just threads in, and it does stick out just a little bit more than the other one would, which makes a lot of sense. Underneath you do have a release there, and so you just press your release. There you go. Right there, you're going to press your release for the lens and then twist it out. And I keep a little bungee on here just so I never drop it, and it keeps the cap actually. So when there's daytime viewing going on, you wear the cap on there so you don't get too much light coming in, because it's a very effective lens. And so you actually want to put that little diopter on there. I'm always very careful to not touch the lenses. And then when I want to insert, I'm just going to press that or depress that button down like that again and give it a twist in. And you'll actually hear probably a little bit of a click when it gets into place, and then it's not going to pull out after that. It's just one little twist like that right there. Very cool. It's actually a pretty compact package. This is not too big overall, and now I have a 70 on there, which is very capable. It can go a long ways with that and get a lot of clarity. Obviously I have so far. So here's a peek at 200 yards. You can see a little open water and some ice melted and the weeds on the edge. And the field. Go over to the barn. Can focus that a little bit up. Focus wheel is pretty smooth on these. Works good. Okay. So that barn is about 380 from here. Let's zoom in a little more. There's 10.5. I'm going to change the angle a little bit. I just think the image looks so much better than before. I prefer this over the 50. I think the high-end power is better. Now it's definitely better detail, more clear. This was a good improvement. I like this lens quite a bit. Let's try it to go to 20 and just see what happens. Okay, so as I expect, going to 20 is pretty far. Work the focus wheel a little bit. There's a little bit of detail that could be had. That's pretty far. Even backing it off to about 16 power, 15 power is pretty usable right there. Let's move over, look at some other stuff. There's a person. I try not to put people in videos. It's another house. That's from here. That's about 500. Focus one more time. Now, obviously, that's in the shadow. What we were looking at with the barn is pretty well lit up, but this is into the shadow. And as I back off magnification, it's going to brighten up a little bit. But man, it does feel like you're right there. I feel like the focus is pretty true. It's pretty good. It feels like I'm right there. I'm getting plenty of detail out of the image. I'm going to go back and forth on the focus a little bit. I could use a road sign to do a little bit of an acuity test here between the two, but I'm just going to tell you with my eye and my experience with the two, I think this is a big improvement. All right, I've got a brick there in the middle, just between 14 and 15 in the dirt, and I'm going to shoot at that piece of brick with some 147 grain non-match loads, just 7.62 by 51, and we're at 328 yards to that brick right there. So obviously if I do my part and focus the image down really well, it's not going to have trouble picking up things, even at a little bit of distance. I'll go ahead and zoom in some more. Oh, the detail's not too bad. I have a lot of sun behind me, but if I get my eyes right up to the cup, it looks like the detail was sufficient there, even at 12x. It's not super pixelated, and it's not washing out. I'm pretty happy with the colors and rendition. I think this lens does a good job. All right, so I have a target there at 219 yards about. I'm going to go ahead and start focusing. Try to get it a little cleared up here. There we go. Looks a little better. That's out of focus. And much more clear. This lens is definitely an upgrade over the previous model. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. So there's 7 times magnification. I'm going to touch up that zoom or that focus again. See what that does. Oh yeah, you can definitely tell the difference. Sharpness is improved for sure. I think that adjustable saturation helps a lot too. That's something I appreciate about it. I'll go ahead and swing a few of those targets at 219. All right, what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to focus on this target at about 58 yards to see how easy it is for me to find that sweet spot. And I'm on no magnification. So I'm just going back and forth on the focus here. It's very windy, I apologize about the sound. A pretty stable image. Getting some detail in there. Now I'm going to go to 100 yards. Go back and forth on the focus at 100. Obviously I get a nice wide field of view, but that lens definitely is an improvement. I can tell right away, daytime, this is a huge improvement. Alright, that's too far, let's bring it back. Right in there. Alright, there's at 100 yards. Now let's go to 219 yards. There's some amount of color you can look at to get an idea of color rendition, sharpness. There's out of focus, and we're getting into focus right about there. And now let's try some magnification. So that's at 219 yards. Here's 5 power at 219 yards. I'm going to touch up the focus a little more. Let's go up to 10. There's 10 power. That's actually pretty darn usable. I'm surprised. When it comes to digital zoom, in this price point, you're going to need a pretty good lens, I think. You can't start with a bad lens and then try to zoom in more, hone in more. Yeah, I'm liking this. I think the sensor's doing a good job. There was a software update that allowed me to use this. Let's go up to 15 power. There's about 15.5. Obviously, field of view is going to drop off a little bit. Let's go ahead and try to touch up the focus one more time. There's out, and here's back in. Right around there. Definitely, if I were to touch up some of the settings one more time, I think I could make 15 look even cleaner, but as it is, I can make out the detail. I'm not getting as much smudging as I was before. The distortions are not like they were before with the previous lens. I do think the software in this lens is an improvement for that daytime viewing. And now let's try to push it up to max, which I usually would never suggest going to 20 power, but let's just see what happens at 20 power. And it's going to be a real touchy image here for a moment. I apologize. So 20 power is going to be very touchy, especially at this distance. I'll try to focus it a little better. Not much to offer on my end for more focus there. But enough I can pick out those impacts easily on a steel. Can see the red line. I can make out, I can make out enough to know what I'm looking at, but the image is just more stable and more preferable. I'm going to say right around where I was at before. 10 looks real good. 10 is very usable. Colors are more true. Not feeling oversaturated. Decent contrast, and the lines are noticeably clear on the edges of the target, steel. And when I look at the brush behind, I can tell which direction the brush has been going or is going. Can see some contrast differences between individual blades of grass. Yeah, I would say 10 is looking a lot better than it was before and is very usable. Now let's go all the way back out to 0. And obviously 0 has lots of potential here. It is still a magnified image, of course. But at 0, I can still tell which target is moving. It would just be harder to make out hits on paper, perhaps. But recording a hunt, recording animals, this right here is optimum. Fantastic. I think this lens was a big improvement, along with that software upgrade.